It is winning season at MyBookie. Use promo code Gators on a deposit of $50 or more, and you can receive up to $200 in cash instantly to your MyBookie account. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. Find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC and at Gators Breakdown. We're previewing Florida, LSU, Saturday night, Death Valley. Ooh, that won't be an easy one. Was never going to be easy, but hey, where Florida is right now, looking for that sixth win of the season, even harder. But maybe there's an avenue for Florida. Jayden Daniels, is he going to play or not? That's the big storyline. We'll get into it with Blake Ruffino from Are You Serious Sports. He's going to preview the LSU side for us. We'll get into a whole lot of LSU talk with him. And then, of course, I'll give my preview and prediction right after that. Hey, everybody, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet to Gators Breakdown right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Also, check out gatorsbreakdown.com. Keeps you updated throughout the week when I'm not right here on Gators Breakdown. And then, of course, Gators Breakdown Plus. Link is in the description. Extra episodes, access to the Discord. You get ad-free episodes right there on Gators Breakdown Plus as well. And that newsletter to gatorsbreakdown.com. A lot of good stuff going on there at Gators Breakdown Plus. And before we get to Blake, hey, let's take a look at LSU. So far this season, their season, 6-3 overall, 4-2 in the SEC. Of course, lost last week to Alabama. They are 4-0 at home this year, 2-2 away, and 0-1 on the neutral site game that kicked off the season against Florida State and Orlando. They did lose 45-24 to Florida State to open up the season. Then turn around the next week, 72-10 win over Grambling State, and then a 41-14 win over Mississippi State. Arkansas, who Florida played last week, LSU, tough, hard-fought game against them, 34-31. And then, of course, Ole Miss, their second loss of the season, 55-49. Ole Miss wins in Oxford there. And then Missouri jumps up to a lead. LSU comes storming back in the second half. LSU beats Missouri 49-39 in Columbia. And then a 48-14 win over Auburn, a 62-0 win over Army. And then last week, as we just mentioned, a 42-28 loss to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. It sets up this matchup versus Florida this week. All right, here we are again. It is Florida LSU week, and as we do every year, it is my good buddy Blake Ruffino from the LSU side. Are You Serious Sports joining us right here on Gators Breakdown. Blake, you and I were kidding going back before this. We've done this for a while together, so it's just now it's just routine. Florida LSU, you and I are getting together, my friend.
Well, I'm glad it's routine because, in the future it might not be routine, which is a little bit I mean, look, because, Dave, we get to these points, right, where it's like Florida's like a game I think LSU people want to play.
Yeah.
And so – when the schedule's coming out, and then the AD of LSU, Scott Wilbur, comes out and says, "Yeah, we don't, we might not play Florida every year," and everybody's kind of like, "What did you just say?" And so, it's been good. Obviously, I love coming on here with you, but it's definitely a game that we always want to play at least.
Yeah, man, it's just a fun game, and I mean, look, ever since Florida lost the rivalry with Auburn, LSU's kind of taken that mantle over from the Auburn days. So,
right,
in a way, it kind of just picked up where it left off. I mean, we know the history of the Hurricane games and both teams going fighting for national championships in 06 and 07, and those crazy games. I mean, it's just neither team really fighting for much this year now with, you guys after last week and Florida, disappointing season here, but
right.
It's still a fun game that I would really hate to lose.
Well, and what's funny, Dave, with this whole thing with Jayden Daniels and the Heisman contention and all that, LSU fans are big Tim Tebow fans right now because they want Jayden to win it. It's like, well, hey, man, he had a pair of losses. Hell, he lost to LSU in 07 when he won it. You better give this man the trophy. RG3, a couple of others, Johnny Manziel. So, like, LSU fans are like, well, look what Tebow did. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, he did go 20 for 20. Like, it was a different animal. But Jayden's having a great year. And, Dave, in this rivalry, we've had a lot of great quarterbacks. Yeah. Right, a lot of great quarterbacks. Dave, I was talking about Florida last week. Jayden Daniels so that tweet went viral about Drew Brees being the last quarterback to beat Saban back-to-back years. It's not true. It's not true. It was Rex Grossman that beat him in back-to-back years, 2000 and 2001. Okay, 2000, 2001. I was at that 0-1 game when Spurrier gets up to the podium after the game and it's like, we played like crap. You won by 46, Steve. Like, what are you talking about? So it actually wasn't Breeze. It's actually Grossman, and it just so happened to be LSU. So thanks, Rex, for all your 468 yards on us.
Yeah, it was 41-9.
Yeah, 41-9. There you go.
Yeah, I'm looking it up because, I can't even get a box score for that game right now. It's got me wondering because I know, Grossman, because I knew Jesse Palmer played a lot that year too.
He did.
He was only 3 for 3 in that game. Yeah, Grossman was 18-28 in that game. So
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was like, look, the Rex man. Dave, I remember that game like it was yesterday because I'm like a top 10 Florida team coming in here. The first game I ever went to is when LSU upset number 1 Florida. Remember that year?
97.
97. My first game ever in Tiger Stadium. Okay,
you picked a good one.
What a game, right? What a game. Okay. So then I'm like, oh man, it's happening again. Saban's in the house. We're taking down Rex Grossman. Man, 8 yards later. Okay, he just, he goes nuts. So either way,
man. Before talking Heisman, Rex Grossman should have had one in 2001.
Yeah, true.
Eric Crouch, really?
I've had Eric Crouch in my show, so I'm going to be careful with that.
Okay,
Eric's actually like a really good guy, but he's like, yeah, man. If you know Eric, he's like, yeah, man, I'm just running for my life out there. But anyway, yeah, should have been him. That team was ridiculous, dude.
No, that's still a dagger. That's still a dagger there. Yes, all right, we'll get back to this year in Heisman talk. And as you said, it would be Jayden Daniels way up there in that Heisman race right now. Of course, Blake, we know what happened last week in the game versus Alabama. Took a hard hit and still now has been questioned ever since. Is he going to play against Florida? So now we're midweek here. Any info? What's the latest on Jayden Daniels? If there is any out there, I think and Blake, I've heard it too. There's been talk of concussion. There's been talk of maybe a broken jaw, whatever. Maybe you can even clear all that up.
Yeah, no broken jaw. Is progressing really nicely from what Brian Kelly said in his press conference on Monday. Dave, I wouldn't be surprised if Garrett Nussmeier went. I do think it's a game time decision for him. But I think it's going to take a lot for him to be out. Right. Now if this were like a sore ankle, okay, he's going, because obviously he's playing for the Heisman, but with CTE, concussions and all of that, this holds different weight. And look, I was talking to somebody just a minute ago, Dave, before I came on here. I was like, you don't want Tua to happen, right? Like if Tua happens again and it just so happens to him on a big time stage, okay, at night in Death Valley, then it's not going to be good. I think they'll take precautions. From what I understand and the vibe that I get from Brian Kelly is that, hey, man, okay, he's passing along. Like he will be fine for Saturday. I still think just knowing Brian Kelly, the way that he is with injuries, he's probably going to say game time decision. He's going to let that lead all the way till Saturday until he makes that announcement.
Hey, look, there might be some gamesmanship going on there too. I mean, if Florida's got to prepare for 2 quarterbacks this week, it's only going to help LSU there a bit. So,
no question, Dave. For a fact that's what he's doing. But in the same sense,
I think there's truth in it. But like you said, it's concussion, man. It probably really is a game time decision.
And because so I had a concussion back in 2009, and this is when all of it's coming out, Dave. Right? There's 6 steps. Okay. And I was so fuzzy. I don't even remember the first 4 steps. You know, they make you read and say all these words and see if like you can memorize them. Dave, I can't do that without it. Like if I don't have a concussion, okay, much less if I do have a concussion. So yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I mean, look, he jogged off the field into that might not mean a whole lot, but I do think it'll be a game time decision. My gut tells me I'd be a little shocked if he didn't go because again, he's got so much on the line here. I do think he goes, but like I said, but then on another note, Dave, it wouldn't shock me if he didn't go, but I just think that he wants this a lot. He talked about all last week when he was asked about the Heisman, like, hey, Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Marcus Mariota was his favorite player. Like this is a goal of his to play and play into winning the Heisman or even just being there. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, Blake, well, let's just get to the type of player he is, man. I mean, just how special has it been? I mean, look, I remember having you on last year. The game was played a little earlier in the season, and he still hadn't really hit a stride yet. You were still wondering what kind of quarterback he was going to be. And then, of course, he comes to Gainesville, has a coming out party, and he's been on fire ever since.
Hey, he threw for 80 yards the week before against Auburn, right? Like,
and look, so he hasn't looked back since. I mean, what's it been like to see his progression from last year? And look, I don't even know if you saw this year coming. Like he was on fire last year, but he did take it a whole nother level so far this year.
Yeah, and look, Dave, when this happens, it would be like Graham Mertz, you know, like taking off next year, or a young quarterback like if Anthony Richardson would have come back and would have took off. In Louisiana, the problem is, Dave, is that you get to a place where it's like, well, we saw it with Burrow, so now it's like the expectation a quarterback comes back the second year, gets better. But look, he in 9 games in 2019, Burrow had less yards than Jayden Daniels and 3 more touchdowns. They're about the same completion percentage. Obviously, the difference is wins, but Joe had a much better defense that year. He's on that level, at least from a statistical standpoint. Davies on that level. So it has been, you know, it has the same vibe without the national title lore that comes along with it.
And you mentioned, you know, the stats that kind of very, very comparable to Joe Burrow. That's not even count what he's doing with his legs.
No. And you know what's nuts? People forgot about it. You know, so Dave, I do what we call keys to victory on Thursday. So tomorrow, number 4, I literally write, and I read this yesterday, you know, I was like, if he doesn't use his legs, we're going to get blown out because their secondary is good. They're going to get stops. I didn't realize he would do that. And I think people really forgot, that's what he did last year against Alabama. Like, hey, man, just because he's throwing the ball all around the place for 350 yards and he's not running as much doesn't mean that he can't do it anymore. And he did. And look, even listening to Saban at halftime during the game, he's like, I don't know what – he literally said this, you know, context not approved on what I'm about to say, but he said, I don't know how we stop him.
Yeah.
Okay. And he just had one bad play on an interception. But that still doesn't mean they should have lost. LSU couldn't get a stop to save their life. But he's just without him. So think about this: 3 games this year. Missouri, who I think that y'all have next week, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, Missouri, Ole Miss in a loss, Florida State, Alabama. There were in all 4 of those games, which he's 1-3 in, all on the road, I might add. He had stretches in those games where he hit 15 straight passes in every single one of them. 2 of them, he hit 21. Okay, straight. And nobody's talking about, like, you want to talk about streaky. Dave, he could start off 0 for 7. It is not going to phase him one iota. Okay, because he will hit the next 21. We've seen it. The margin of error for him has been so little with this defense that I think it's more impressive what he's doing at times than Burrow, because Burrow would check it down sometimes on 3rd and 17, knowing that his defense could come out and make the stop. Jayden does not have that luxury of there ever being a stop, right? Like he's got to be legendary every single play, every single drive, and it is just it's fun to watch. Like if I could take just a fandom and biases out of it because being a fan and a guy that covers this team, it would be just ridiculous, I feel like, to watch every single play of him. But like you said, Dave, Florida last year was his coming out party, right? And he didn't look back. We saw that earlier in the year against Florida State in game 1, but chaos around him circled, and then he couldn't do what he was supposed to do. So he's up there with Burrow, man, statistically, and just how he's doing things. Dave, he had 300 yards. Think about this. He's the only player against Nick Saban ever to have 300 yards in the first half. I mean, we're talking about Cam Newton. We're talking about Tebow. We're talking about Burrow. Okay? Like, you're talking about Heisman Trophy dudes. Yeah. Never happened. Trevor Lawrence. Okay? Like, it's never happened. So it just, I sit back and say to myself, like, dude, what are we watching? And then it's unfair for Garrett Nussmeier, who came in, and people are barking at him. Oh, he doesn't get more accurate. LSU's hitting the portal. And I'm like, God, y'all are so spoiled, man. Y'all are so spoiled. You don't get it. You don't, there's other teams not named LSU that exist.
Yeah. What it reminds me of is the way you explaining that, and the margin for error being so thin there is, hey, watching Florida and Kyle Trask in 2020. And that offense just going up and down the field, but knowing you pretty much had to score almost every drive because of his Florida defense there. So,
dude, I remember, Dave, you remember this? Well, like in 2020, wasn't that the shoe game?
Yeah.
The fall game?
Yeah.
Dude, remember Trask had to go like 6 straight drives with a touchdown?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, bro, this is without Kyle Pitts. Remember, Kyle Pitts was out of that game.
Yep.
And I was like, bro, everybody talking about Kyle Trask. This, and then he's one shoe throw away,
I'm sorry I brought it up. Gator fans. I'm sorry.
I talked about Spurrier and LSU getting blown out.
There we go.
Talk about the shoe game.
There we go. You brought him up, Garrett Nussmeier. If Daniels can't go, of course, he won't be moving like Daniels, but what does he bring to the table as a quarterback? Because, he's been put in some tough situations. Last year, second half versus Georgia, SEC championship game. Last week versus Alabama in that game as well. So if he's got a week to prepare, if a game plan is built around him, what would you expect to see?
Guns blazing. Just like coming out, Dave firing on all cylinders, throwing the ball down the field.
Hey, that's what Shane Matthews said. I had Shane Matthews on earlier this week, and he was like, hey, gunslinger.
Yeah. Okay. So Shane Matthews, yes, it is that. But here's the problem. Dude, he threw two interceptions against FCS Southern last year. Okay, one of them were a pick 6. He comes in Georgia, and everybody's like, "Oh hell," like this. Oh hell! And then he throws for 300 yards and a half.
Yeah.
And so it's feast or famine, right? I think if he does play the game plan, Dave, they got to run the football effectively, right? Like they're gonna have to run the football effectively.
Hey, before you go there, I was going to go there next. So, would you expect that? I mean, Logan Diggs comes in as the main back there, of course. 113 carries. If Daniels doesn't go, of course, his legs go away as well. So that I'm assuming puts more on Diggs if Nussmeier is the guy as well.
All of them, Dave. All four of them. All 4 of the backs. I mean, Logan Diggs.
Because nobody else has more than 23 carries.
Nobody. Yeah. I mean, I think
23, 22, and 21 are the next 3 guys.
I was literally just about it's 23, 22, 21. So, like, we do by the numbers on ours. And I'm like, look, the first thing I looked at today was I want to watch more of Florida's, like, rush defense. Because I'm like, man.
It's not good, Blake.
Well, I mean –
hey, last week finally did gap scheme or cutback runs a much better, but then Arkansas just ran it right at them. And
the problem with that though, Dave, is that I just don't. We have not seen in 2 years under Brian Kelly what it looks like without Jayden, really. Okay. In a situation where you have a full game.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Like against Georgia, Dave, they didn't throw, they ran the ball 3 times in 31 plays. Okay. Yeah. Like they literally were throwing it all over I think actually, I don't remember Nuss's stat line. I felt like he threw the ball 30 times. They're going to have to run the ball in this game because, look, if Florida gets turnovers, we're in trouble. Like, I don't think people understand. Everybody's like, oh, well, this, Florida's offense this, Florida's offense that. They motion a lot. Mm-hmm. They'll run the ball on you. And Billy will not get away from running it right at you. And that's a problem for LSU. Like, it's a massive issue. If they get in the red zone, I watched every Florida red zone play this year. I was like, damn, they score. It felt like, I was like, Dave, they got to score every time. Well, I look up, top 10 in the red zone in the country.
Right. And it started out bad this year. So
right. Yeah. And so I look at it and say, look, man, if you don't run the football and play keep away a little bit with a young quarterback, you can be in trouble because you're going to have to tame him. Like when he goes out there and you have one fade route, like you might just have a fade route to clear something out. He don't care. He is going to throw the fade and he's going to just bombs away and throw it. There is no real intermediate with him. Dave, the longest pass that he threw in the year, okay, was a pop pass. Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, if you could just do that, understand that can happen with these receivers and Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas, you'll be okay. But I do worry about Nuss from a turnover perspective. Florida is not a team that you can just give possession to because, look, they're going to run the ball on you and they're going to play keep away. Time of possession, I think, is another basket. You can't play the game into Billy's hands.
Yep.
Right? Like you just can't do that. And
hey, especially if Daniels goes, I really see that happening. Like you've got to find a way to keep him off the field if you can.
Right.
But if Nussmeier goes, I am eager to see Napier's plan. Does it change? Do you try and get into a shootout there? LSU's quarterbacks. Like I talked myself into, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It could be the same score because Florida could change their game plan for no matter who the quarterback is. If it's Daniels, slow the game down, limit possessions. And you may get a 37-30 game LSU. But if it's Nussmeier, then you may find yourselves in somewhat of a shootout, 37-30. I could see it turn out the same score either way, just because Florida may slow the game down with Daniels. It's
a good point. And look, what you just said plays into LSU's hands.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're getting in a shootout, I mean, look, man, we don't have a choice.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, Dave, I'm sure everybody watching this watched the game last Saturday night. Okay.
Yeah, Florida was at noon, so we actually got a chance to watch that game. So.
I'm just going to tell you, like, that is their style. Okay. Yeah. And Garrett does fit that mold from a passing perspective. He's not better than Jayden, but just the overall fit of what they want to do. But if I'm Billy, Dave, I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't do that. Because again, don't let this young dude get hot, man, because we saw against Georgia in that second half. Kirby talked about it, I think, during the SEC media days. He was like, look, man, I'm yelling at the dudes on the sidelines because Nussmeier goes down to score. People forget it was not a massive runaway. Like LSU scored, they're down 14. Dave, they got a 3-and-out. Here he comes throwing a 50-yard bomb down the field, completed, and he throws an interception. But my point is, he's literally an inch and a half away from them getting a score and that game being into 7. So I caution. I have no idea, Dave, what Garrett Nussmeier is going to wake up.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
You said that last year about Jayden Daniels, damn it, and it freaking turned out where he did.
But Dave, but what did I have to go on? The man threw for 80 yards.
I know. Yep, I agree. I agree there. I agree.
Hey, every time I do this and panic on your show, LSU wins. If I come in here confident, they're going to lose. So I'm in full panic mode.
Yeah. Hey, you brought his name up, Malik Nabers. caught a pass in 27 straight games. Leads the nation in reception yards this year. He's the second player in LSU history with 2 1,000-yard seasons. I found that today, which is mind-blowing to me. I was like, and that's not a shot at him. I really thought there would be more given the guys that you have been putting in the league for the last 10, 15 years. And hey, look, what's really going to worry me about him and this whole offense, leads the country in 20 yards or more plays with 27. Yep. So not only is he just catching a whole bunch of balls, he's catching those balls down the field.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Justin Jefferson caught a screen pass from Joe Burrow. Okay, he had 1,001 yards. Okay, and the year before 19 and 18, they throw a screen pass. He gets tackled for like -4. Okay, he doesn't have 1,000-yard year. The last catch that he has. Okay,
so he technically did get it.
He technically did get it, but nobody remembered. Because Joe Burrow went nuclear. Everybody forgets about that, but the real fans don't forget. Jets did that. Dave, you talk about Malik Nabers. Here's the difference when we talk about guys like Jets or Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham, the great receivers that have been at LSU. Because I feel like they always have one. The difference with him is he can play X, Y, Z. And you don't – where I think Jamar can just play the slot on specific plays, he's more of a boundary type dude. And Jets is a boundary dude, right? Like he's going to be on the boundary. They use him in the slot some, but he's not a slot dude. He's not your typical slot wide receiver. You have no idea where Malik's going to line up and what he's going to do, what route he's going to run. If he runs on the boundary, here's the thing that I would look for early in this game, Dave, or what I watch every single game when it comes to Malik. He's going to, in the first 5 plays, he's going to run a stop route. He's going to run a hitch, and they're going to throw it to him. Okay. Then they're going to run a hitch and go no matter what happens. Then they're going to move him to the slot. And they're going to run a slant. That's literally every single game what they've started out with him, and nobody has stopped it. Saban last week came out and said exactly that, and they did not stop it. They did get on the hitch. The hitch was incomplete. The slant went for 27. The hitch and go went, I think, for like 34. Okay. It was literally the same combo that he runs. Where's he going to be lined up? And the problem is they took away Brian Thomas Jr. They bracketed coverage last week, BTJ. When they didn't, he didn't get bracketed on 3 plays. On those 3 plays, he had 3 catches. Okay, thanks to PFF. I used your stuff all the time, and I probably should say okay, 3 times. And I'm like, why aren't you guarding Malik? Okay, like you better start doing it. Then they did some different things, but it's just where he lines up and what he wants to do. While I think, Dave, he's the best receiver in the SEC. I thought that I could make the argument last year and got booed out of my own podcast saying he's not the best receiver. I'm like, okay, so he doesn't have the touchdowns. But, guys, he
had a bad start to the season, right?
Horrible start to the season. Horrible. But in both years, he's led the SEC in catches. Like, they're going to throw it to him, Dave, 15 times. It doesn't matter. He's going to get 15 targets. I think his average is 13, and he's getting like 8.5 catches a game. So it's ridiculous. And you know what's crazy? I'm just going to throw this out here, Dave, because I know recruiting is what recruiting is. 3-star until he signed with 3-star until he signed with LSU. Okay, then he gets moved up. So that 3-star that's on that number, that top 3 ranked recruiting class. And by the way, I'm glad I'm on here. You're the reason that Mullen got fired. Don't think I forgot that, okay? Asking that recruiting question. But Billy's a good evaluator of talent. Yeah. Like if there's one thing you're going to give him, like Duke can recruit. He can evaluate. So look, man, I mean, these dudes exist. I mean, look at the 2 running backs you got.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all can bring them to LSU if you want to. Thank you, Billy.
Hey, I talked to Montreal about that this week, and he's like, hey, guys, I felt slighted by not getting recruited by LSU. So,
and so did ATN.
Yeah.
Bro, we're going to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm just going to say this one thing. How did Ed Orgeron miss both ATN brothers?
It's a good point. I mean, I didn't think about Trevor not being there, but Travis, yeah, good point. Really good point.
I mean,
hey, they're both within an hour and a half of me. So,
well, that sucks. Okay, like that really sucks for us.
Yeah, because you got to see the other one on a Thursday night football game, and for your
nuts. I draft him in every. So I just got into this. Like my friends made me do this dynasty draft.
Yeah,
I'm like, look, bro, my entire list of dudes is like Louisiana ties because they go and play elsewhere, and I get mad. Okay, I got like Etienne, got some other dudes. I'm like, this is BS. I think I got like CD Lamb because he was actually from Opelousas.
Okay.
CD Lamb, another 3-star dude from Opelousas, Louisiana. Stand up. Head Orgeron, dude, missing everywhere. And then you got, which I know this is going to make Florida fans mad, but then I look at Keon Coleman, Dave. Keon Coleman.
Man, apparently we didn't need him, Blake.
All right, so here's the truth. And LSU fans that are going to watch this know that this is 1,000% true. This is going on the air. I begged the Orgeron staff, our good buddy Bill King. I was sending him text messages during recruiting. I would show him the text. I would send the staff at LSU, you need to get Keon Coleman and Trey Harris. They told me that I do a podcast and have no idea what I'm talking about. I have that screenshotted and saved on my phone and send it to friends every now and then. And now look at it. But Keon Coleman's more than, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I think he's the best receiver. I mean, maybe not named Malik, but he's a freak.
Yeah, he is.
So what do I know?
Unfortunately, we got to play both of them.
God bless it. I'm sorry.
When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sports book that gives you the tools to win, like MyBookie. At MyBookie, it doesn't matter if your team is up or down. You can easily cash out or bet the game live to come out on the winning side. Use MyBookie for daily odds boost, same game parlays, and take advantage of huge prize pool contests. Plus, MyBookie has a no-strings-attached cash bonus that lets you deposit and withdraw quick. Just use promo code Gators on your first deposit and receive up to $200 in cash. Hey, not much longer to bet on football, so hey, everybody, jump in to MyBookie. One more time, that's promo code Gators to claim your own cash bonus now. Try the MyBookie money bag to grab a potential Super Bowl frontrunner at long shot odds. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie. But let's move to the other side of the ball, and I'll let you go, man. Hey, what in the world for both of our schools right now? Florida, LSU, neither one can claim DBU. That's so far removed from both schools right now. What's the issue on defense for LSU? Who's to blame? Is defensive coordinator, position coach? Is it talent, recruiting? Where does it start, I guess?
Where it starts, I'll go back to Orgeron. Dave, this team had 36 scholarship players when Brian Kelly got here.
Yeah, good point.
The truth was, in year one, he overperformed. Oh. Defensively, I think they got to make a change at DC, Dave, honestly, because it would be one thing if, like, it is personnel, and I can't argue that it's not personnel issues, because it is some personnel issues. But Harold Perkins isn't a personnel issue.
Yeah.
And you're misplaying him. We talked about this earlier. I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching this watched the LSU Alabama game. Okay. At what point did you not realize you needed to put a spy on Jalen Milroe?
Right.
You know, like Brian Kelly comes out on Monday. Yeah, maybe we should have put a spy.
I saw that.
Everybody loses their mind. Okay. And that's gross incompetence. And then when you have, which has been confirmed, which it kind of got, the only thing that Brian Kelly has had messy around him, they got him on about the dancing with recruits. That's not really messy, right? Like that's not, that's not like in-house politics. But he runs off the defensive line coach, who as soon as the DC wanted him out, Matt House, the Broncos are like, wait, y'all are letting him go? And Sean Payton just got hired? Oh, we're on him. Okay. So I think for me that he's got to go because you do have pieces, and there's just been issues off the field and on the field. So I know I'll get in trouble for saying I don't think he needs to be here, but that's just me, Dave. I don't think he deserves to be here.
All right, well, last part on this, and I'll let you go. Of course, there's been injuries, a ton of injuries you guys have been dealing with too. Yep. Headed last week to Alabama without 2 starters, and all 4 transfer cornerbacks didn't play.
Yep. And they're not.
Yeah, and they're not this week. That's right.
Yeah, they're all out for the year.
Okay. So the starting 11 on defense last week, if I saw this right, 5 transfers were part of the defense last week, and the cornerbacks were converted safeties.
Yeah.
And one being a true freshman getting his first start last week versus Alabama.
Yep. And only gave up 219 passing yards.
Okay.
Wow. So, Dave, again.
So it was already a struggling defense, but and now a bunch of new faces.
The problem was it would have been the secondary.
Yeah.
Here's our good buddy Josh Pate would say, the paper pop. Okay. I literally wrote number 4. Okay. Play bump and run, man-to-man coverage on the outside. Make Jalen Milroe beat you with his arm. Because I knew what he was going to do. Everybody and their mama knew what he was going to do. I actually think, Dave, that the secondary, the guys that, hey, maybe they actually found something here the last 4 weeks. They continuously move up in passing yards allowed when it comes to the rankings. Why? You're at 120. You're playing a bunch of freshmen transfers that probably don't want to be here. Well, the guys that you recruited in there are 5 stars. Both of them were 5 stars, the safeties. Mm-hmm. Hey, well, they can cover a little bit. How about that? So the DB room, for what it's worth, doesn't bother me. It's that front 7. So for this game, Dave, the motions that you're going to use is going to confuse the ever-living dog manure out of them. They're not going to know the misdirection runs, the, fake jet sweep here. We're going to go, 34 dive there. They don't know how to stop that, Dave. They don't. And so I could see Johnson and ATN just going off because you do have injuries. You do have guys on the outside that are injured, but I just don't know if this – I literally see this game happening. I think I saw that Florida is running for 157 yards a game or something like that. They're going to have 200. They're going to run on you, bro. And this O-line, Dave, I don't know how really the O-line has played for you guys or what your opinion is for Florida.
Not as good as last year's.
That won't matter.
Okay.
Unless Harold Perkins goes back to playing edge rusher or being on the edge, it's not going to matter. So
it's inconsistent at best. I mean, if you watch the first half of the Tennessee game, it's probably the best they looked all year. And there's been, they took advantage of a Vanderbilt defense and, of course, the cupcakes and all that, but nowhere near what they were last year and, inconsistent there. But I'm like you. That's got to be a path. If there's a path to an upset, I mean, because let's be real, it's going to be an upset if Florida wins this game. To me, it is. It is Johnson and ETN. I mean, I love what Graham Mertz is doing. He's playing better than a lot of people thought he would. But I do think it's on Florida's run game.
Dude, Mertz is playing to me what everybody thought Peyton Thorne was going to be at Auburn. Remember when Peyton Thorne comes into Auburn, everybody's like, oh, man, he got freeze. This kid did some good things with Keon Coleman. Oh, okay. Well, and Graham Mertz is number 14 on everybody's list like dummies, and now look at him, And so, I do think that crossing routes, I think, was it Wilson, the young wide receiver?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, Dave. It's like the old T.I. song. You can have whatever you like because this defense is going to give it up to you.
Blake, again, man, you're making me feel better about this game.
You should. Look,
you made me feel that way the last couple of years.
Dave,
no, I do. You call it we call it like we see it. Yeah.
I mean, Dave, they're second to last in the SEC in rush defense. By the way, the only worst team than LSU in rush defense, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
If you can't come into this game and run, Dave, then I'm not trying to put anything bad on Florida, but I'm just saying, like, if you can't do it, everybody else has.
Yeah.
So Auburn came in here in the first half. They just couldn't throw. Peyton Thorne couldn't hit a wide open receiver if it would just save his life. I don't know. I think y'all going to run all over us. I really do.
All right. Well, maybe there's a hey, Gator Nation.
13 and a half, Dave. Take the 13 and a half.
Take the 13 and a half. Okay. Okay. All right. If Daniels plays, absolutely no shot.
Don't take the 13.
Yeah, absolutely no shot. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it whatsoever. If Nussmeier plays, okay, maybe there's something there.
That's fine. Has that line moved at all?
Not that I know of. I haven't seen it move.
Yeah, I haven't seen it move either.
Look, I'm picking LSU either way, but I do think the path to an upset certainly. And look, this is not calling myself a genius. Nobody's going. Of course, it's slimmer if Jayden Daniels is out and Nussmeier is in.
No doubt.
But the path to an upset is a little more clearer there. If not, I think LSU is going to have to help Florida out a whole lot if there's an upset and Daniels is the starting quarterback. So
and
on that. If he is in concussion protocol, does it change the way he's used?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. I don't. But see, here's the thing, Dave. People are like, I'll give an analogy. Tebow, Lamar, Cam Newton. Every one of them's like, oh, he takes all the big time hits when he's running.
Yeah.
Dog, no, he does not.
He don't. Yeah, he doesn't.
It's when he's staying still inside that pocket where and obviously the hits and running the football is what accumulates more. He's not, taking more of those hits. Look, man, that kid, I don't think it matters. I don't think that he can. I don't think that it cares to him, Dave. Now, I don't think LSU design runs him with anything, right? Like, I don't think they're going to design run him with anything.
Okay.
I don't think, Dave, let me tell you something. Okay, I probably shouldn't say this. I'm going to anyway. Against Alabama, all right, Brian Kelly had to be asked this question multiple times because Daniels will walk to the line, check it. Hey, y'all called something? He goes full Burrow mode. Okay, he's literally done this all year. He's like, this play sucks. Okay, he'll motion the back out, exactly what Burrow did. Okay, he'll go and check the play, bring the running back in, move protection around, and he's going to hit a bomb or he's going to run for a long run. It happens every time. Not everybody, but he is not going to let you run it like something on him. So, look, I do think it changes how they use him schematically. Dave, if he needs to take off, he's gone. Like, he's not, he's not going to sit in that thing. At least I don't think so.
Yeah,
because I've seen him hit hard. Believe it or not, even though he got concussed, I've seen him hit worse than what Dallas Turner did to him. Dave, so this is another thing. He got late hitting against Alabama 5 times last year.
Yep.
And you want to say that you weren't trying to take him out?
Yeah.
You hit him 5 times after. I mean, who's sour? Yeah, me.
All right, there we go. Hey, Blake, man, great job as always.
Always great to be here, Dave.
Yeah, Are You Serious Sports right there. Blake Ruffino, catch him right there. Hey, he's on every week with the Bill King Show as well. Hey, I'm on Tuesdays. Blake, you're on Wednesdays?
Yeah, Wednesdays.
I
think we're at the same time or around the same time, just different days,
Yep.
So.
All right, Blake. Hey, thanks very much, man.
No problem. We'll see y'all.
See you. All right, we know it's not likely for Florida to win this game this week. So how do we look at it? We look at it for a path to an upset for the Gators. The Gators offense is going to have to help out the Gators defense, and even more so if Jayden Daniels is the quarterback, of course. For me, you've heard me talk about it all week. I mean, it's not rocket science here. Slow down the game as much as possible. And I go back to last season where we know Florida had to try and hang with a high-flying Tennessee team, and it needs to be something like that. 38-33 Tennessee win. That was an offense that could score really fast, like this LSU team this year, an elite offense going back to Tennessee last year, LSU this year. Florida scoring drives. That game against Tennessee last year, 8 plays, 75 yards. Took 3.5 minutes off the clock. That was a touchdown. 8 plays, 75 yards. Another 3.5-minute drive. That was a touchdown. A 12-play, 75-yarder, 6:21 touchdown drive. A 10-play, 75-yard drive. 3 minutes off the clock. Another touchdown. So held a 34-57 to 25-03 edge. Basically 35 minutes of time of possession for Florida. Now, look, fast-scoring offenses don't usually care about time of possession all that much. It's all about the points. But, if you're Florida going against this LSU defense, you can dictate time and score. That's the best path here. Going against I say LSU defense, and against this LSU offense, dictate it. Keep them on the sideline. You know what? Never mind. I meant LSU defense, of course. You're going against LSU defense. See if you can dictate it. See if you can stay on the field. Keep LSU, Jayden Daniels, Malik Nabers on the sideline. And if Jayden Daniels plays, this is the most likely path to an upset, in my opinion. You're not going to outscore him in a shootout. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So how do you get there? Of course, that means you got to convert 3rd and 4th downs. Has to stay on the field. Pair it with Trevor Etienne, Montreal Johnson runs. Those are the 2 guys I'm looking out for in this game. Mertz checking down may not be the worst thing in this matchup as long as you pair the points with a 3rd down, 4th down conversions. LSU's 3rd down conversion rate on defense is the worst in the SEC. 122nd in the country, giving up 46% on the season. So there's your path. All in all, LSU's given up 171 yards a game on the ground. That's 122nd in the country. 13th in the SEC. Quinshon Judkins for Ole Miss. Ran for 177 yards on 33 carries. Another Ole Miss running back, Ulysses Bentley, gained another 90 on 9 carries. That's the type of performance that we're going to need to see. Now, you'll probably divvy that up a little bit more with Florida and Etienne and Johnson, a little more balanced duo than what you'll find out there a good bit. Take advantage of a bad defense. Take advantage of a bad run defense. You heard Blake say he thinks Florida's motion can give them some trouble. If Florida can string together some plays, some 3rd down conversions, 4th down conversions, some drives, and pair them with touchdowns, there's a path. There is an avenue. If it's going to happen, if the upset is going to happen, in my opinion, this is how it's going to happen. You have to dominate on the ground and pick and choose when you hit the passes. I mean, there's going to have to be some explosive, sure. I mean, LSU struggles in pass defense as well. Their defense is bad. But to help your defense a bit too, keep that LSU offense on the sideline. Speaking of that LSU offense, we move to the other side of the ball. Biggest worry, just a downfield passing game for LSU. Hitting those big plays, no matter the quarterback for LSU. Really worried about Florida's corners holding up against, of course, Malik Nabers. I'm sure Florida will try and limit the big play as much as possible. More the 2 high safety instead of the 1. Try to help your corners out. Try to take a safety out of the box. Take them out of play and closer to the line of scrimmage like we've seen a good bit this year. And look, maybe stopping Daniels' running ability, as lethal as it is, may just have to go along with it. That deep pass down the field. We've seen it over and over again against this Florida defense. Going to have to try and limit it as much as possible. LSU leads the nation in plays of 20 yards or more with 77. Florida is 52nd in the country, giving up 37 plays of 27 yards or more. LSU is also tops in 30 yards or more plays with 36 of those. This is where it starts getting even worse for Florida. If you're 52nd in the country, giving up plays of 20 yards or more, okay. It's not terrible. You'd like to be better, but not terrible. Oh, the rest are terrible. As I just mentioned, LSU is also tops in the country in 30 yards or more plays with 36 of those. Well, Florida is 88th with 21 of those plays given up. LSU is 2nd in plays that gain 40 yards or more with 19. Florida's 125th in the country in that regard. giving up 15 plays of plays that gain at least 40 yards. Not an ideal matchup. But Jayden Daniels has been responsible for 65 of the 75 plays, either with his legs or his arm. So, all in all, he's a very balanced player. LSU's very balanced run-pass ratio. Then, look, a lot of that's due to Jayden Daniels being able to run the ball. Not necessarily design runs by LSU's running backs or design runs by Jayden Daniels. They're here and there. But, man, I mean, no play is ever dead with him at quarterback. Daniels is number 2 nationally in rushing yards by a quarterback. Has 2 100-yard rushing games this year, 130 versus Missouri, 163 last week versus Alabama. Last year, he led the nation in rushing yards by a quarterback with 885. I question now if he's injured. Sounds like it's concussion. Do they try and protect him? Do they try and not let him run as much? You know, the busted plays, that's going to be hard for him not to take off. That's his game. But do they try and limit the hits on him in other spots? What if he gets hit hard again? What happens there? So just something to watch. Just how dangerous he is with his legs, how explosive this offense is with his legs. Do they try and limit coming off that concussion, or does he limit himself a bit as well? Just something to watch out for. All right, playing on the road. Of course, another big storyline for Florida. That South Carolina game only proved Florida could barely win a road game against a bad team. And now the next chance is a night game in Baton Rouge, Death Valley. You know they're going to be going crazy there like they always do. Good luck, Florida. That does not bode well for the road issues Florida has faced this season. Utah game, Kentucky game come to mind, of course. South Carolina game does not mean those issues disappeared. It's late enough the season. We don't need to be seeing the mistakes we saw early in the season. Played better. You know, they didn't have a lot of the dumb mistakes at South Carolina that we saw earlier in the season. Part of the reason you won that game. Now the next step is, hey, now go just get an upset win on the road. Maybe a game you're not supposed to win on the road. You got over that road snide, but as I said, that's a bad South Carolina team. We know that now. Now go try and go get another one. But one more time, brought it up this week. The theme needs to be back against the wall, wounded animal mode, desperation mode for the Gators. Embrace it. Be last year's South Carolina, who wins over Tennessee and Clemson after losing to Florida last year. It was looking so bleak for them. After a late season loss, very tough opponents coming up. Hey, they didn't let that dictate the rest of the season. They showed up. Let be Florida this year. Let that be Florida this year. Go prove to the world that you can go get upset wins. But with all that said, no matter the quarterback, no matter if it's Jayden Daniels, no matter if it's Garrett Nussmeier, still only sensible for me to go with LSU when they're at home. I mean, I'd probably be picking, well, not probably. I'd be picking them if they were playing in Gainesville too. But on the road, Death Valley, the issues we know this team has had, and now even away from the road, the issues this team has had, I can't pick Florida to win this game. I think LSU's offense will stay explosive. They'll stay explosive enough with Nussmeier if he's the one to go. 41-30 LSU with Jayden Daniels is my prediction if he's able to go. 37-30 with Nussmeier. Now, I know it sounds crazy that I have a similar score for both quarterbacks here, but I think Napier plays the game a bit different. Depending on LSU, won't slow it down as much if Daniels is not the quarterback. I do think LSU will also slow it down some more with Nussmeier and the teams just kind of trade blows. So 41-30 if Jayden Daniels is the quarterback and plays the game. 37-30 if Nussmeier. starts and plays the game. I do see a path where Florida in this run game can take over, and that somehow leads to the upset. But if this game is played 10 times, that only happens about 3 times, in my opinion. LSU is better. LSU is at home. Unfortunately, I predict an LSU win. Hope I'm wrong. I hope desperation mode springs an upset for the Gators. It certainly can. But man, there's a lot to prove, a lot to see. I can't just pick Florida based on hope. I think LSU walks out with a victory Saturday night in Baton Rouge. I think Florida will be there. I think Florida will play. Their defense is so bad that I do think it gives a path. Even with Jayden Daniels, like I said, 41-30, that's an 11-point LSU win. So I guess it would be covering the spread for Florida. But man, there's not a lot of belief. I don't believe in this team right now to go get a road victory. Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. You want nothing more than to be talking about a Gator win late Saturday night. All right, one more time. Big thanks to Blake Ruffino giving us that big-time LSU preview. Really fun conversation with him. Always good when we get together, when we preview the Tigers and the Gators. A lot of fun there. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC and at Gators Breakdown. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.